Welcome back everyone to another training week. This week we're watching the first week in November where the Twisties decided to come and pay me a visit. Now because my lower back was problematic, it's going to be a bit of a boring week, so we'll start things off with some comments. Lucky Ferrado, the Mars is getting insanely close, can't wait for you to catch it. And Black Knight thinks that's the most ready I've looked for a competition. Me too. And Royal Dunkers had a very interesting question about deload weeks. Deload weeks in gymnastics, are they important? Man, well, I guess we can start off by saying that the traditional sports science approach is that every fourth week is a deload week. I think that's the time frame. Me personally, I've never felt that my body runs on a 4-week clock. So I've never stuck to 3 light weeks and a 3 hard weeks and a light 4th week system. I'm more on the side of listening to my body and taking time off when I need it. For example, this week I had a niggle in my back, so it was impossible to do routines. So I decided to focus on the minor details, try and get my quast angle up higher, focus on doing my giants on P-bar without smacking my feet on the floor, that sort of training. As a coach, I do schedule deload weeks, but again, you can call them deload weeks when you're, in my view, if you're doing routines and you're building up routine numbers, it's really good to have 1 week, the 4th week, where instead of doing routines, you spend at least half a week or a week of working those skills that are a bit inconsistent, or those skills where there's always a 0.1 or a 0.3 in there, but you don't really have the time or the energy to go back and fix it after the routine. That's sort of my view of a good deload week. But in terms of taking a week off of gym, I can honestly say I've never scheduled that into my training. So again, everybody is different. I think sticking to a rigid 4-week plan can be good if it's really planned out, but in my experience, every single body is different. Everyone's energy system is slightly different, and also everybody's schedules outside of the gym is different. There was a phase where I went through quite a structured training program, but inevitably just things would come up and throw everything off. It's supposed to be a tough week full of routines, full of focus, but all of a sudden exams are coming up and you realize you have to have a little bit extra study, you get less sleep, and that whole focused week becomes messed up. So for that reason, I'm always just kind of listening to my body. Now, coming up is a bit of a 1-year memory. 1 year ago, this happened. Do you remember this? This is the definition of necking yourself, fam. 1 year ago, before the Coppers World Cup, boom, I necked myself. Exactly 1 year ago today, actually. Today is the 10th of February. So yeah, that's kind of my view on deload weeks. I think each athlete has their own sort of skills or parts of their gymnastics that require more attention, that a lot of the times we neglect. And in my view, when an athlete isn't feeling quite up to par to doing full routines, or maybe if you're earlier on in the season, half routines, I'm very understanding of that, and I would get the athlete to do what they have energy for, like some one-handle circles on pommel horse if you're not a good pommel horse worker. Do what they have energy to do, rather than taking a risk and throwing something which could potentially be a little bit more dangerous. And you'll see this week and next week I've started to put a bit more pommel horse together. and fix my swing. So those one handles, they really do help. And I also started doing circles for fitness. Pretty much our whole level 7 plus kind of senior space right now, we've followed in the footsteps of our big boy Peter. And what Peter's doing, he's doing a 1 rep max set on pommel horse, resting 10 seconds, and then straight away going and doing another 1 rep max, which is obviously going to be a lot less in numbers. But he said that he noticed a lot of benefit after doing that in his pommel horse workouts. So we've all started doing that. Peter himself actually has built it up to 4 sets, which in my view is quite a lot, and probably taking a heavy toll on the wrist, but Peter swears by it. So what I've started doing is doing my first rep max on the leather, because that's where it's the hardest for me. So I'll get to about 30 circles or so on the leather. I'll take the 10 seconds and I'll do the second set on the handles, because in my routine I'm tired before the dismount on the handles. So I thought that was a good logical way to approach things. Oh, looks like I missed a hand there. So that's kind of what happens when I try and catch quads to handstand. I end up initiating everything earlier, which I think is correct. But because you initiate everything earlier, your hand isn't over on the bar as much as it usually is. So you're putting your hand in the same spot that you're used to, but your body's in a different spot. So you have to move your hand a centimeter or so upwards. And of course, that's a very, very subtle movement and easy to miss. So that was this week. I think I did hit a few quads that caught higher than usual. Now, lucky for me, my back healed up relatively quickly. It was painful to do any sort of dishing or piking, especially piking. And although I wasn't 100% by Friday, I felt that I was ready enough to put a mock comp together. Ouchies! That one hurt, but I was okay. So Thursday was a pre-competition day. Friday I popped on the uniform, did the full competition warm-up. So I warmed up one apparatus, went to warm up the other apparatus, which is what you're seeing now. Went back to the first one, took my one touch, presented, routined. Went to the second one, took my one touch, presented, routined. After this day, I decided that I've got plenty of reps now with my 15.8 P-bar start value. So this week, which I'm currently existing in, I decided to put the Makuts back in. So you'll see me try the 16.2 P-bar routine again in the next training week. And I'm still persistent with this Maras. Oh, there's nothing to say, fam. There's nothing to say. I just gotta catch it. You know, the excitement's kind of worn off. It's become more of a repetitive part of my training. So it's the definition of grind right now. My body's over it, doesn't want to do it, wants to save its energy for the routines, which I'm already nervous enough for. But I'm pushing because it's such a beautiful skill. Now, so this day it looks like I warmed up high bar first, warmed up P-bar, and then I would have done my one touch on P-bar before presenting. Let's see how it went. A little bit rushed. That was better. How'd the DM go? Bit messy, closed shoulders. Okay, so it looks like I was pretty nervous and giving away a bunch of 0.1s, and actually now I remember that I tucked the dismount. You know, sometimes you pin off the bar a little bit earlier than you want, so unfortunately didn't quite get through a proper routine, but at least I stayed on from start to finish with a additional pressure of one touch warm-up and full uniform. Did we put the casino on the bar? Yes, we did. Legs split a tiny bit, but not quite on the Coleman. What I do remember is I was paying extreme attention to my knees for the rest of the routine. I was like, okay, you get a breather now, you're not going to be so tired for the rest of the set, so let's see if we can keep the knees as straight as possible. And it's looking pretty good. Hop full, it looks like that first half of the week paid off. That was a much better hop full than I've been doing. That was a nice Zoli. Let's see the knees over here. Ah, that was nice. That was nice. Should have kept my hips open on the landing and I would have stuck it, and I spazzed out. That's the second spaz of the year. Setting a good example to the next generation of gymnasts. So got through the P-bar, got through the high bar with one full. So I think that's about 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks of missing out on getting a hit high bar routine. And I feel like the way it started was high bar was hitting quite well in the first few weeks of routines. P-bar was not, and now it looks like it's switched. P-bar is getting more consistent. High bar is losing a little bit of consistency. That's it for this week, fam. Thanks for sticking with me. Till next time.